Harper, can you say process podcast? Podcast. Can you say process? Podcast.
I'm finding Paw Patrol.
You want to find Paw Patrol?
Yep.
Okay.
Maker, the hit maker, the hit maker.
So part 3, me, Sheldon, Alan, you want to correct my grammar on that one?
Nope, you did just
Okay,
great.
excellent, excellent.
You know, this kind of reminds me of The View. I want to be Whoopi Goldberg, okay? No.
Your Joy.
I don't even know who that is.
That's the only name I know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry.
You're the Asian chick.
I'm the Asian chick.
Yeah.
Okay, so part 3, before we just cut off Alan there, we had to make sure that we were good for another 20-30 minutes or so, and in our attempt to provide you with additional value. So Al, do you remember what you were talking about?
I think maybe I do. Now, see, at the beginning of our second session, you had asked me what were some of the commonalities that I see. So as a coach, and by the way, I'm going to just clarify, I don't call myself a business coach, and I don't call myself a life coach. I think industry likes to call me those things because coaches are you're either a life coach or you're a business coach. I say I'm a tough-ass, no-nonsense, mental toughness success coach. That's it. Anyway.
Much easier to understand.
Yeah, much easier. Yeah. And a smaller business card. Anyway, you asked me what were some of the commonalities that I see in entrepreneurship and in business. And we talked about a couple of those, but because I'm OCD and I can't let it go, sometimes I think, oh, I got one more. And it kind of goes to a rant that I say, and it's this, barring things like unforeseen equipment failure, maybe IT issues, which I don't care who you are and what business, that kind of seems to be a certain issue. And maybe, and I say maybe, if you trickle down effects of economic conditions, the number one biggest problem you have in business is a people problem. Would you agree with that? You can disagree. We'll have an argument. You'll lose. But
I say
I think so,
yes
because
and
even a business owner that thinks he's a stud, been running for 10 years, that has very limited profitability. It's the person that dictated those financials. I mean, if you brought in the right guy to run that ship.
That's what I was going to say. If you have people problem, it's more than likely a you problem.
Exactly right. That's exactly where I was going, and it
Yeah.
links into what we talked about at the beginning of the last session. And that is, and I say, the biggest problem you have in business is a people problem, and every people problem exists because of a leadership problem, not a management problem, a leadership problem. And then we get these people that say asinine things like, oh, it's so hard to find good people. Oh, we got good people leaving and it's like a rotating door around this place. And I said, that's because you got a leadership problem. If you understand leadership and what that is all about, and you fix that problem, you're going to fix 75, at least 80% of almost every problem you have in business. Because what do leaders do? Leaders either create their own problems, usually out of ignorance. Sometimes they're assholes, but usually it's just out of ignorance. Now, ignorance isn't a bad word. It just means we don't know what we don't know. On its own, it's not a negative word. It's not a positive word. It just means we're uneducated. We don't know.
Yeah, because
so,
every time someone says ignorant, someone thinks, oh, redneck and the deep south. Well,
not that type.
Not that type of ignorance.
Yeah, it's easy to be a professional in a certain industry and not know something important in that industry.
So if you don't know, you're going to create problems. And so oftentimes the leaders create their own problems because they just don't know. They're stuck in management mode. Here, take for example, we see a lot of times, you came out of the automotive industry, right, as a mechanic. So I'm just going to make up a scenario, and you did as well, right? So we have, let's say, somebody who's sick and tired of being a mechanic. And then they say, well, I don't want to work for the man anymore. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to have my own garage, and I'm going to make my own money and pad my own pocket and make my own, fortune, and I can control my own schedule. Great. So they open up a shop. They do what they do well as a wrench turner or whatever, right? And then they realize, hey, maybe I'm growing, maybe I'm getting bigger, maybe I'm getting, now I need to ramp it up a little bit. And so we begin to hire more mechanics. And then as we begin to ramp up a little bit more, we take that best mechanic, and I move that mechanic because he's the best mechanic I got. I'm going to make him shop foreman now. I'm going to make him I'm going to make him service manager. I take him out of an area of strength where he's knocking out of the park, and I put him in an area of weakness, and now he's not knocking out of the park like I wanted to. He's not knocking out of the park the way he wants to. Neither of us know how to fix that, so eventually either I'm going to fire him or he's going to quit. Who created that problem? You did.
Yeah.
The leadership did. Why? Because the leader doesn't know what he doesn't know, and therefore creates a problem. He also takes himself out of an area of strength, being a great mechanic, knowing how to service a client well, and puts himself in an area of leadership as an executive and fails because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So leaders create their own problems, and then they also allow problems to exist because they don't know how to fix that problem. They don't know how to address that. And they figure, well, it's just going to figure itself out. Out of sight, out of mind. And eventually things will just get better. And we hope that it's going to get better because the economic condition increases. Well, if you're waiting for your business to get better based simply on market and industry and economics, you're in deep weeds, man.
Like Robert says, hope is for the hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like control is a huge function of the entrepreneur. You can't control what the economy does or government policy or tax rates or any of that. But what you can control is effort, culture, systems, things of these natures.
I love that word culture. What does culture really mean? Well, every business has a culture. Even a small entrepreneurship organization has a culture, whether you realize it or not. And almost, I can't put a statistic here because I'd be making it up, but I'd say most people, their culture isn't what they think it is. You really want to know, I say two things. You want to know, the culture is what the marketplace, the culture of your organization is what the customer thinks it is. Really, it's either that or the true culture of your organization is what goes on at the dining room table when your employees go home and talk to their wives at the end of the day. That's the culture of your organization. Mm-hmm. So between that and what the experience that the client actually has, there's your culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal is people's nature is really, when shit hits the fan, when pressure's on high, because if you're a growing company, there's probably a little bit of pressure there. And people's nature can kind of come out in these pressure-filled moments. And I feel like if there isn't anything established for how to act within this entity, right, then typically they go to their nature. And
which
now
isn't the best for business or culture.
Now you're spinning the wheel going, how is this person going to react? Could be good, could be bad.
And everything needs to be intentional. So, if you're working with me, one of the things you're going to know is I use that word an awful lot. It needs to be intentional. When you start up, it needs to be intentional how you do that and at what speed you do that. And if you want to make money in that first year, you better be damn intentional about how you're going to do that. Coming into that company, as an entrepreneur, you better know how you're going to exit that company. It needs to be intentionally thought out. You talk about culture. You need to do that with intention. Everything has to happen with a tangible, pre-thought out, premeditated intention that then you do certain things a certain way every single day to get the results you're looking for. And one of the things I also say is that, it's a John Maxwell-ism, but I believe in it, especially since he's one of my mentors, and that is success is found in your daily routine. So what do you do daily? I could follow anybody. I'll follow you around for 24 hours and I'll tell you within about 85 to 87% accuracy whether you're going to make it or not. because your success determines on what you do every single day, not what you do once a week. Not, you're going to go to the gym, and I know you guys, you go to the gym, you like to lift the weights, but are you going to get the results that you want if you hit it real hard for 1 week and you don't go back for 3 months? Nope, it's every single day intentional. And if you don't run your business that way, if you don't go into your entrepreneurship with that kind of mindset, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, you lack control, and then the more you lack control, the more the outside factors really do matter, right? Oh, the economy's coming back, so now we can be profitable again. Well, even if the economy does negatively affect your business and revenues are negatively declining, right? That's fine. Can you still be profitable? I think a lot of instances you can, or at least minimize your risk, right? All of these things are in the control of the entrepreneur. Okay, let's say you do lose money. Well, if you are in control, you can minimize the risk, minimize your loss. Maybe $100,000, $200,000 loss got cut in half. Maybe you did find profitability, but without intention, I mean, you have no control, and you're kind of like a ship in sails in the middle of the ocean. Who knows where you're going to land, right? And that's again, a lot of these business owners been around 5-10 years. That's kind of how the business has been run, with no intention to grow. Some guys hit a certain level and don't want to grow anymore because they're comfortable.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
True that.
Yeah, and growth becomes a risk to them.
Yeah.
When in actuality, when I look at it, I'm like, well, now if you're going to stay the same, inflation is going to destroy you.
You're going to go backwards.
Yeah.
Exactly. You could stay the same, 1 million gross revenue every single year. Well, your labor is going to go up. Your cost of goods are going to go up. Everything is going to go up. So if you can't at least exceed inflation, you're going to be less profitable.
I love that. That's such an important thing.
Yep.
There's such a fallacy when we use that term, well, I've plateaued, or I'm staying the same. I've got to a certain level of success. I'm going to stay here. I'm like, man, you're really uneducated.
The only thing that plateaued was your own.
Because I hate that word, because there actually is no such thing as a plateau or staying the same. You hit it right, Chris. We're either every single thing, whether it's a human being, a plant, a tree, or a business, it's a living organism. It's either growing or it's dying. And when we plateau, we don't stay the same. We're actually going backwards. That organization is dying. It's just dying at such a slow rate we don't realize it. So, we're making that $1 million gross revenue every single year for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in a row. But cost of goods are going up. Inflation's going up. Cost of labor is going up. Insurance is going up. Liability is going up. So you're actually dying. And eventually, then you wonder, oh my gosh, what happened? And so if you're not intentional about every single thing, you're eventually going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, so growth is sustainability at the same. The company will never be the same any 2 years, right? Your expenses are always changed somehow,
right?
I mean, the company really isn't the same.
But what do so many people do? Okay, now I got everybody in place. I got the positions hired. I got the systems in place. Just stay the same. But you're right.
Yeah.
Nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
And I think people that don't understand that don't make good entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
because leadership, again, that gap, leadership dictates change. It's a catalyst for change. Management is keep everything the same and just maintain. So when you've got an entrepreneur who's trying to run a business as a manager, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But when you've got a leader running the organization, very different things happen.
Yeah, more visionary, whereas management might be more system oriented.
Management is, we've got everything in place, let's just stay the same.
Yeah.
And then, if you're not careful, what happens is you turn into what I call the status quo-holic. The person who's addicted to the way things have always been. There's nothing worse. Well,
yeah, and
well,
it's
there
frustrating.
is, but,
It's frustrating for leaders too, who have vision and want to grow and change, but then you deal with those people who want things to stay the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frustrating.
Anyway.
Yes. So it's funny too. I always like to bring it back into like pseudoscience sometimes. Like the body isn't the same any 2 days. Your cellular structure is always changing, and so to act the same philosophically every single day is kind of flawed by nature. And so therefore, to revert it into business and investing, it's the same thing. There's never the environment is never the same any 2 days.
Yeah.
So you always have to be changing and open to change, and if not, whether you survive, whether you're even in business 10 years from now, isn't your decision.
Right.
And that to me is risky otherwise, right? So to reduce risk, you need control, right? You're never going to have 100% control, right?
Right, but what happens is so often what I see, and I was guilty of this for the first, I don't know how many businesses I created, is I wasn't in control, although I thought I was. And we begin to set goals based on what we think we can do. So it may be something like this. So one of the businesses I used to have was I ran an oil field service company, and I would say things like, I'd be sitting down trying to plan out, what do I want my goals to achieve the next year? How much market share do I want to take? How much money do I want to make? And I might say things like, well, let's see, if it doesn't get too cold this next winter, and if equipment doesn't break down too much, and if the housing bubble doesn't burst, and if the oil prices can sustain themselves, and if gas prices don't go too low, and if another wacko doesn't fly an airplane out of the tall building somewhere, then I think I can do this. What's the problem with that? I have no control. I shirk all my control and my responsibility for control onto other people and other situations that can't do anything. And all that has to happen is one of those things in that scenario to fall through, and I've failed. And entrepreneurs do that all the time. Mm-hmm. They give their control away. Say it shouldn't matter. Yes, there are some arguments, and I'll agree with you, Chris, where maybe we can't have 100% control. Maybe there are some things that are going to force our hand economically with a
still limits your
or whatever. But we've got to be able to control what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what the outcome of that is. Mm-hmm. I think so anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure the garden gnome would agree with you as well.
Yeah.
So moving forward then, what's some solutions some common solutions, some easy stuff, entrepreneurs listening, they go, okay, I run into a lot of these issues. What's some easy pointers that people can do right now? If there is any, I don't know. I'm just throwing some cards out there.
Well, I don't know. Maybe one of the things that I would think of right off the top of my head is force yourself to sit down with different people that think differently than you do, to begin to look at your business differently and how you do things, and should you be doing things different to get different results. And it goes, to me, it's that Einstein's not favorite, but famous quote, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is just insanity. Mm-hmm. So if you're not happy with the results that you're getting, don't complain unless you are going to purposely put yourself in an environment with other people that can challenge your thinking. And I would say start there. It's a simple thing. It's hard for a lot of people though, right? Getting out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. Egos.
And all of those cliches or whatever. But if you want to start to get different results, you've got to go after people that think differently than you do. The number one thing I do as a success coach is I challenge your thinking on everything. Everything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And other than being a sounding board and keeping people accountable to do what they actually say they're going to do, that's really all I do. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that's probably the best place to start.
Yeah, I would also recommend a book too. It really helped us by Vern, Scaling Up. Do you have that kicking around?
Vern.
Oh, look at that.
Is Vern like Cher, has no last name? Just Vern? Vern.
Harnish. Whoops.
Let me help you with that.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm the ugliest Vanna you've ever seen, right?
I've read that book a couple times, and I was actually just thinking of it the other week. I'm probably due to read it again. I get so much out of that book, and so much more out of that book every time I read it as my own context expands and grows in regards to business. The first time I read it, a lot of it was over my head, but subsequent times we've based our entire financial system in our business based off of that book.
Yeah,
and it's been amazing.
Yeah, we have super niche custom reporting, and a lot of that came from that book. And so we're always reviewing the metrics of the business, and the business is always telling us a story. And that's how we project. That's how we, try and take control of the business and guide it in the direction that we want. And I think it's a big reason why we've grown every single year. Right? Yeah. Every single year. Yeah. So I would also recommend, just an easy next step, read Scaling Up. There is a couple simple books out there. Get like, you don't have to understand accounting, but you need to understand to communicate in accounting. You don't need to understand how to be, you don't have to be a lawyer, but you need to understand how to communicate, right? So you can guide the lawyer, the accountant, the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
And so really it's just learning words. If you can learn several words in each industry, accounting and legal and in marketing, that alone will be able to spot a problem and guide someone to the solution of that problem. And Scaling Up is one of those books that I definitely recommend.
It sounds great. I think I need to buy this. Mastering the Rockefeller Habits.
Yes, I thought you'd like that.
Scaling Up. Yeah, one of the families I love to follow, their history. I love the byline, how a few companies make it and why the rest don't. So it's Verne, Verne, Harnish, Harnish, Scaling Up. Verne
It's a
Harnish.
must for any business owner, entrepreneur, everything. That book is literally a handbook on how to. Yeah,
Did Verne actually
I
sign
had
this?
Vern
snap,
sign
son.
it. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Wow.
cool.
He's an incredibly smart man.
You could sell this for more money on eBay now.
So, with the podcast, we're not selling any courses. We're not selling any seminars. We are not going to make any money selling this book. But I would strongly suggest, read that book. There's a few handful of other books. Learning is a key factor. We always try and, learn as much as we can. With experience and learning, the right combination of both, I think that's really helped me personally.
Yeah, me too.
Right? I mean, I'll go learn something, apply it, either worked or didn't. Maybe I keep it up. Maybe my efficiency in that application improves. Right? There's so many factors there.
That's the key. You learn. Both of you. That's what I know about both of you. You're lifelong learners. You're sponges for learning. But you're both very good at implementing something you learn.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, once the switch went off that, hey, I have to purchase assets, right? Why? Well, because I want the cash flow from the assets for the freedom or freedom of choice, or to, go into this direction. So there's a lot of added control, right? When you go out with that mindset to, but you need the right education to go out and do that. The good news is you don't need to go through the school system to do that.
That's true.
Right? I mean, this book is what, $20, right? And it's one of the best books that I think I've ever read. But
you know what the shame about that
It's
is?
the most practical business book I've ever read.
People would pick this book up and go, $29.95, $30? Are you freaking kidding me?
Look how
put it
many
down.
pages there is.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
And then they'll go to the bar and spend how much?
Where's the Cliff Notes?
Yeah, that's like 2 drinks at the bar nowadays.
235 pages. That's worth it.
Well, unless you're in Vegas, that's one drink.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a big drink, though. You're going to have a good night.
Yeah, it's probably not a big drink.
What? Okay.
I've spent. It doesn't matter.
Hold on here. We've got a whole other debate here.
yeah.
$30 is going to get you a decent drink.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Depends where you're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're listening to Hair Nation, okay, and there's that little place right there, with the bartender's right there, you give them $15, you're having a good time.
Something tells me we're...
Yeah.
Anything you got to add to, like, a little tidbit for, entrepreneur, something to pick up? We got the easy low-hanging fruit, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
No, I think it's been a great conversation and back and forth today. Appreciate you coming out, Alan, and contributing. It's been a lot of good information talked about here today.
I love
lots of tidbits.
I love the style of this. This is great.
Yeah.
There's something that I teach called the rule of 5, and maybe I'll just leave this as my final thought. And it comes to being intentional. Let's just pretend that you've got a great big oak tree out back. It doesn't matter how big the tree is. It doesn't matter if it's big or little. Your objective is to go chop that tree down. All that has to happen is you go out there with an axe and swing the axe at the tree to actually hit the tree 5 times a day. That's all you need to do. Put the axe down and go back in the house. Eventually, if you're doing these 5 things, that tree's coming down. You can accomplish anything you want to accomplish following the rule of 5. I'm not going to tell you what all the 5 are here, but if you are intentional in taking that tree down, intentional about getting the result that you want, and you go out there and whack that tree with that axe every single day, doing the right thing the right way, that tree's coming down and you'll get the results you're looking for. But it comes down to something that I guess we've been talking about as a theme this session, and that is intention. You've got to live intentionally.
Good advice.
Awesome. Well, let's end on that. Appreciate you guys if you've actually been intentionally listening to us.
To the three podcasts.
Anybody still awake?
Yeah.
Yes. So we appreciate you guys, and as always, if this is any value to you guys whatsoever, let us know if there's anything to improve on,
Or anything you
shoot
guys
a
want us to
comment.
talk about. That would be a good one too. If anybody who has actually listening and wants to talk about something business related, not business related, heck, maybe even come on here and let's talk about it together. That would be
Sweet.
fantastic too.
You got any leftover pizza?
Tomorrow I will.
Yeah. Okay, guys, take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.